out there. That's in a moment. Just stay with us. Welcome back. Well, let's look at Nigeria's consumer goods sector with a focus on flour mills. Nigeria, I see the company is undergoing strategic restructuring at this time. We've seen them, try to do a lot of initiatives, buybacks and all of that. But let's understand the broader context and implications of these decisions for the company and for the sector. Joining us for this conversation, we have Dr. Ayo Teriba as a CEO, Economic Associates. Join me right here in the studio. Great to have you, sir.
Thank you very much.
So, quite a number of initiatives this company is undergoing at this time. Talk to me about why they chose, this time. And, looking at the sector, we see a lot of challenges, right there with operators. So, talk to me about, these initiatives that the company is undergoing.
Right. Yeah, the tearing, you speak about the sector, but the tearing has been very, very active, whether you're looking at the country, macroeconomic dynamics as a whole, or the realities that players face in specific sectors. For example, in the agribusiness sector, where the Nigerian flour mills operate. You hear a lot of what the government is saying about food and the need, for Nigeria to have enough of agricultural produce. You hear a lot of statements about, rebates on import duty, specifically on food. Now, this is a company that operates, in the food and agribusiness sector, for who farm output, guaranteeing steady supply of farm output at stable prices is key, for the sustainability of their factory production activities and for their, downstream ability to engage, with their consumers. So why now? Why not now? No time,
I guess no time would be better
than now. If the idea is to strengthen your strategic grip on the levers of your own sector or the levers of your own company, of your own value chain, I do think that now is a good time. It's a surprising time because it's a time when company after company come in to tell you that they are exiting, big name companies for that matter, both in the agribusiness value chain and elsewhere, in the economy. So for you to find one that says, I want to invest more, I want to repurchase my minority share holding, and I want to strengthen my propositions upstream to guarantee stability for my factory operations and serve my consumers better.
Talking about, talking about buying back, the minority shareholders, is that, typically if a company does this, how does it help in the company's ability to attract investment?
Well, you have multiple sources of investment that a company can choose from, and the decision on which is the preferred option rests, with the company. In this case, they've chosen to go private. They want to raise $1 billion in additional investment to be injected over the next 5 years, I understand. And they choose to do so privately. And to make sure that the interest of the minority shareholders, do not suffer. So they are offering to buy back and at a premium. And so it's a choice, whether you want to increase. Some other companies are increasing their, issues in the market. They, in their own case, want to go private and raise the money,
And definitely, with an expansion plan, as big as this, do you see, any risk ahead, because at this point we're still dealing with currency fluctuations at this point, and we've seen how all of that has played into, most of the reports we're seeing, especially from the consumer goods sector, when it comes to, forex losses and all of that. Do you see any risk there?
Well, there are always risks ahead. Business is not about avoiding risks. Business is about taking risks. While the decision I hear them announcing that they have made is to increase their investment upstream. I hear them saying that they've invested in higher yield seedlings, and they would like to have an increased take upstream to guarantee stable, and affordable supply. So I do think that much of the move is meant to minimize risks.
I'm talking about
to minimize their dependence. Yes.
I'm talking about, minimizing risk and, dependence on, some sources. We know local materials sourcing is another issue, when it comes to, companies like this. You don't want them importing, raw materials, at this point. So what do you think is the plan to actually, boost local sourcing, of raw materials?
If I understand it, correctly, the investments to be injected, the bulk of it is meant to be deployed upstream, to strengthen, their propositions in farm inputs, seedlings and grains. And so if that is it, they are trying to reduce their dependence on third-party suppliers upstream. So I think that's much less risky than when, you just sit down in the factory and hope that some others will invest in higher yield seedling for you. Some others will ensure that the crops arrive when you need them. So I do think that they're trying to reduce, such risks, going forward.
All right, so looking at, other African markets, what risk will you say Nigerian companies face, in going into most of these other African markets? Because, it would be nice to get some of these companies actually exporting, to neighboring African countries and, bring in some, forex. But what risks are you seeing for that?
Well, perhaps we should frame this in terms of opportunities in other African countries. If it was going to be risky importing, then perhaps when you strengthen your propositions upstream, when you guarantee that you can have the crops, then you are speaking about opportunities, to seize, demand a sales opportunity, cross-border sales opportunity across. It's the company we're discussing is not into exports of produce. They're into export of, value-added, manufactured items. So their proposition for other African countries is to also serve them, some of their staples, in the, flour, in the spread and margarine, vegetable oil, and sugar value chain. So if the opportunities are there, and it's increasingly difficult for everybody to import, so why not export?
Okay, so
and that gives you income revenue diversification. It also gives you foreign exchange supply.
Yeah, we need that foreign exchange, definitely. But looking at all the moves the company is making at this time, what impact do you see it having on the sector and on employment?
Well, if exit is going to be negative on employment, and if it's going to impact, the sector negatively, then they are not exiting. They are doing repurchase of minority shareholding, and they're injecting $1 billion over the next 5 years. Injections are favorable for the country, it's favorable for the macroeconomy, and it's favorable for the sector. And of course, it should be favorable for their business. So this is what the President Tinubu regime encourages, that more companies would invest more in the country. So,
all right, and definitely we're hoping for...
It's unquestionable.
Yes, we're hoping for no more exits or less exits and more entry and expansion in most of these...
particularly in the segments.
In this segment,
that are
yes.
critical.
Yes, because consumers are going through a lot right now.
Manufacturing operations, yeah.
All right, I want to thank you so much, Dr. Ayo Teriba, CEO, Economic Associates,
for
helping us unpack, the moves by this company. Thank you.
Thank you very much.